Hi, fans of high quality entertainment. I know it looks a little confusing here, uh, but first of all, I'm going to do top 12 best albums in my CD collection. I've I started picking some out here, and I couldn't stop. So it's going to take a while, and I've decided not to include any Beatles or solo Beatles. Otherwise, there would almost be no point in making the video because I feel the Beatles are up here and everybody else is below them. Just my own personal opinion. And the other thing is, you'll see this video here. I just posted it today on my ASMR channel. So if you have the time, please go over and check out where I'm talking about a couple of music videos that I did in the past. And one of them includes one of my all-time favorite guitar solos. Yeah, on my song. So I hope you check it out. I'll have a link at the end of this video. Thank you. Okay, I've chosen 12 and I'm not going to rank them this time because they're all just so good. And I really had to think this over because I'm thinking, I'm not just thinking, like I said, I'm not just thinking of myself and my own personal opinion on the albums, but I'm thinking of everybody. And so I hope you agree with me on most of my choices, at least. So some of the albums that almost made the list, but didn't, include Blue Oyster Cult's Secret Treaties, David Bowie, my favorite David Bowie album, Black Star, The Doors' debut album. Yeah, The Who's Next. It almost made the list, but I feel that Going Mobile is, even though it's a good song, it's not as strong as the other songs on the album. So that's why I didn't include that. And then there's Devo, The Moody Blues, Wire, yeah, Stephen Sparks, Elvis Costello, Grand Funk's live album. For my personal favorites, that would be in my top 10. Johnny Cash almost made the list. Cheap Trick's debut album. Captain Beefheart. Yes, even Golden Earring with Switch. Glenn Kellaway's favorite album by Klaatu. Velvet Underground didn't make the list. And that's because of The Gift, which I enjoy listening to, but I don't know. There's better albums, I guess. Steven Wilson, Hand Cannot Erase, almost made the list. Porcupine, Parachute is so good. Lou Reed's Berlin. And this album I listened to last night for the first time in a long time. And it could almost make my top 12. I'd kind of forgotten just how damn good this band is. And Glenn Kellaway from The Basement has their third album in the CD exchange. So I'm looking forward to his thoughts on The Undertones. This is just, if you love power, pop, punk, really catchy songs, great energy, great guitar work, check out The Undertones. So here we go. The 12 best albums in my CD collection in no particular order. Van Morrison, Astral Weeks. His vocals, one of the greatest vocal performances ever, in my opinion, and some other people's opinion too. The whole story behind the album where Van Morrison just went into the vocal booth and kind of didn't even really interact with the band that much. And just somehow, by some miracle, they made this outstanding album. And kind of similar to it, for vocals and just the whole vibe of the album, is Gene Clark, No Other. Of course, Gene Clark was in the Byrds. And I've talked about this album many times. Glenn Calloway, of course, is a big fan too. Uh, you just have to listen to it sometime. No other. The vocals are just so good. The music is so good. It's a mixture of like old country, country pop, progressive pop slash country. It's just a magical album. Highly recommend it. Number three, not ranked, but just the third album in my top 12. I think most of you would agree. Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti. Their debut album is could have been chosen too, but there's just more music on this one, so that's why it wins. Yeah. And the reason I'm including it, I know that some people don't care for, like Boogie with Stu and Black Country Woman, but I've always loved those songs. So I feel the whole album is strong from beginning to end. And plus, of course, Sick Again, probably the most underrated Led Zeppelin song, in my opinion. This album I have talked about many times as being one of my favorites through the years. It is Talking Heads, Fear of Music. Yeah, I just the whole vibe of the album from beginning to end. I love every song. I think it's all of these albums I feel are perfect. There's no weak songs. That's why, like I said, something like Who's Next, I ended up not choosing because I felt one of the songs, Going Mobile, was a little weaker than the other songs. But once again, it's just my opinion. The fourth of the 12 albums is one of the greatest debuts ever. The Pretenders. Yeah. Or Pretenders, I guess. Yeah. Precious, The Phone Call, Up the Neck. The one song I never used to care for was, I think, Private Life, but I love that song now. So, once again, from beginning to end, just great song after great song. Number 6 of 12 albums. We got to have some prog rock for Scott from the Prog Corner. And the one I've chosen is Yes, Relayer. Even though Tales from Topographic Oceans is probably my favorite album of theirs, it's kind of a roller coaster. It kind of ebbs and flows with some awesome parts and, some little patches throughout the songs that aren't quite as good. But overall, I just love the album so much. But this one, I just love every second of all three songs. Yeah, there's a whole three songs on this. And I feel that To Be Over is one of Yes's very underrated songs. Number 6 of 12 albums. I could have chosen, there's a couple of other ones I could have chosen, but I've decided to go with Creedence Clearwater Revival's Cosmo's Factory. And once again, like in the past when I was younger, I could not stand Run Through the Jungle. But I've warmed up to it, of course. Now I love it. But once again, Ramble Tamble, my all-time favorite CCR song. Looking Out My Back Door. I heard it through the grapevine, of course. The awesome cover. Before You Accuse Me, Traveling Band. Just one of the greatest American bands ever. I've chosen a punk rock album because I feel it, just the history of it. And I remember not knowing what it would be like when I bought it because, they didn't have the internet in the 70s, believe it or not. And then I remember buying it. It's kind of like you're taking a chance every time. Sometimes you're really disappointed with an album that you've been reading up on. But I was not disappointed at all with Ramones, their great debut album, and my favorite Ramones album. Yeah, just from start to finish, and it's like 30 minutes long. And each song is about 2 minutes or so, and just very influential in music. 4 to go. Remember, no Beatles and no solo Beatles. I almost chose One Size Fits All, but I've decided on Hot Rats for Frank Zappa. This is the album that got me into jazz rock to appreciate it. And I also love the Grand Wazoo and Waka Jawaka. Peaches and Regalia, a masterpiece of an instrumental. The guitar solo in Willie the Pimp, which goes on for like 3 or 4 minutes, is one of my all-time favorite guitar solos. And of course, Captain Beefheart on vocals on that track. But it's mainly an instrumental, and it is just so good. So it made my list. Now, I know that fans of this artist might not choose this as their favorite, but just for me personally, when I bought it, how you kind of go through, depression or whatever, sad times. This album meant a lot to me at the time, and so it has such a strong memory for me, and I played it hundreds of times through the years, and it always sounds fresh when I play it. It is Bob Dylan. That's right, Bob Dylan and Slow Train Coming. And it's not just the songs and his vocals, by the way. I think he's a great singer, especially on this album. But it's the guitar work by Mark Knopfler on this. It's just gorgeous. So, and yes, I even love Man Gave Names to All the Animals. 2 albums to go. This band, I kind of, except for one album, I mainly just love their 60s singles and early 70s songs. But I'd never heard this album, like the complete album, until the past year or so. And it is now my favorite album by the Kinks. Yes. Arthur, or The Decline and Fall of the British Empire. Yeah, my favorite used to be Lola versus Power Man. But this one is just perfect. Victoria, Some Other Son, Drivin', Shangri-La. Possibly my favorite Kinks song now. And so in my top 12, I might have given that album away with the thumbnail. Yeah, so if I was doing my 12 favorite albums, this wouldn't be in the list. But I know how great it is. And I think most of you would agree with me, and that's why it's in my top 12 best albums in my CD collection. It is the Rolling Stones with Sticky Fingers. Moonlight Mile, my all-time favorite Stones song, along with 2000 Light Years from Home. Way is very underrated. Bitch. I like saying that. Bitch. Brown Sugar, of course. Can't You Hear Me Knockin'? You Gotta Move. I even love that cover version. That song. And yeah, it is just my favorite Rolling Stones album. That's why it's in my top 12 best albums in my CD collection. And that is it. What are some of your best albums in your album or, your vinyl record or CD collection? Let me know in the comments section below. And please remember to check out that the music video reaction I'm doing on my ASMR channel. You might even like the songs. Maybe. Bye.